Miss Pataky, I've been expecting you.
I've been expecting you too, Mr. Curtis.
We've been sitting here for quite a long time. I wasn't sure when you were going to turn around.
I know. I was waiting for you.
So, you may be wondering why we're sitting here dressed much more fancily than usual. Definitely me. This is definitely the fanciest I've dressed in um, probably months.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for that, and why we're sitting here petting the heads of two furry friends. Which, by the way, this is KK Slider from Animal Crossing. We're probably going to be sued by Nintendo just for having him featured in this. They're probably going to want the royalties to this video. Probably $1 per second that he's on screen. So this is going to be our most expensive episode of Nerd Theater yet, but we'll save him just for the intro. So, why are we here today, Alyssa?
We are here to start a journey,
A journey.
an odyssey,
An odyssey. A double O odyssey.
a double O octopussy
A double O octopussy. Yes.
into the world of James Bond.
Yes. So, welcome back to another episode, Nerd Theater. A very special episode of Nerd Theater, more of a series.
Yes.
Because we are going to be, as Alyssa said, talking about every single James Bond movie. Of course, I'm Brian Curtis. This is Alyssa Pataky. We are once again joined together. But we're going to be talking about a boatload of movies, a boatload of Bond movies. And we're going to be splitting up our videos into several parts. And how are we going to be doing that, Alyssa?
We are going to be doing it by Bond.
Yep.
So we're going to start with Sean Connery here today.
Got to go to the Book of Genesis.
Absolutely.
Sean Connery.
And then we're just going to move forward. We're even going to include poor old George Lazenby. He gets his own video.
He does. Yes, so we're just going to be talking about every single Bond movie in chronological order. So what's our history with Bond? I know that you grew up with James Bond, but you grew up more with the Pierce Brosnan and the Sean Connery movies, whereas I was more Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig was my entry-level Bond, and then a little bit of Pierce Brosnan too, because I saw GoldenEye, and then my dad showed my brother and I some of the Roger Moore movies. Like we watched Live and Let Die together, and then a couple other of the Moore movies. I can't remember which one specifically, but so I'd seen Bond, in chunks, but it was really Daniel Craig where I started watching them and really enjoying them a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were saying, my intro to Bond just I come from a family who just really likes the Bond movies. From my grandparents and my parents, everyone has their favorite Bond. Most people agree it's Sean Connery, at least in my family. We're a very Sean Connery favorite family. And so, I grew up watching those ones. I think the first one I saw all the way through from start to finish that I genuinely remember is Diamonds Are Forever, which is the last Eon production of Sean Connery.
Yes.
With Sean Connery in it.
Yes. And so that's kind of our background with this series. And the interesting thing is, we decided to do this video. We've had this plan for quite a while. And the reason for that is because sometime last year, you and I started watching every single James Bond movie in order.
Well, actually,
there was some that you hadn't seen yet.
Yes.
And there was definitely some that I hadn't seen yet.
Oh, absolutely. We got into a friendly debate when we went camping one summer about who was the best James Bond.
Yeah, and who had the best movie.
And so we just decided we got to watch all of them to just complete our viewing experience, because like you said, neither one of us has seen all of them.
Yep.
And on my memory, or I only saw one Daniel Craig one.
Yeah.
Growing up. So that was kind of a blind spot for me in terms of Bond. So it was really interesting to go back and just kind of see the evolution of the movies too.
Absolutely. And we went from seeing a handful of them each to now having seen all of them together.
Yes.
But the reason that the timing is interesting is because, and we'll get into this a little later down the line, uh, the state of Bond has drastically changed since we first sought out to do this video.
Mhm.
And now that we're finally sitting down to do it, it's almost like we are going to be touching on the beginning and the end of the Broccoli Bond movies. I mean, it's going to be completely different moving forward from No Time to Die. And so it's going to be really interesting going back and talking about each one before, that whole new era begins. I'm sure there's probably, by the time we get to the last video, I'm sure they'll probably have like 3 miniseries out on Amazon and stuff.
And then
just
the Bond
ring it out as much as you can.
I was just going to add, the Bond movies we're going to be talking about are going to be the Eon production, Broccoli produced Bond movies.
Yep.
So we're not going to cover the original Casino Royale.
No.
We're not going to cover Never Say Never Again, which is just a remake of Thunderball. And the last outing as Sean Connery as Bond, but it's not official.
Yep.
So we're not going to be talking about those. We thought about maybe watching some parodies and things like Austin Powers or
Johnny English,
Get Smart,
things
like that. But there's just too much spy movies inspired by James Bond. Too much, too little time.
Maybe another day, with another video.
Yeah.
But we're gonna stick with the man himself this time for now, because as it stands, James Bond alone has a crap ton of movies. So
for better
or worse, to add on any more to that would just make this a ridiculously long series. So as we stated before, we're going to be going off of every single Bond themselves. So today we're going to be strictly talking about the Connery movies. Then the next video would be Roger Moore, Lazenby, then Roger Moore, and then Dalton.
So we're not so forth. Necessarily going chronological order because Lazenby is between 2 Sean Connery movies.
Yeah.
So he's just going to be kind of like an outline. We're just going to kind of pull him out and put him between Connery and Moore.
Yeah, because he's just kind of in there strangely for his own little solo adventure.
Yeah.
That being said, just for the sake of variety on this channel, and not to as much as we love Bond, not to flood and overexpose the channel with Bond, we're going to be in between doing smaller reviews of different movies as well, and smaller videos about different movies and filmmakers and such, just to keep things fresh and make the Bond videos very much like the Bond movies were events. So there we go.
Foreshadowing.
What do Bezos and the boys have planned for Bond? One can only guess.
I hope we get a father and son drama with Quarrel and his son from the first few Bond movies.
Yeah.
Their struggle of being fishermen and getting recruited by Felix, the CIA. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yep. Like I said, by the time this video drops, they're probably going to have like 3 new miniseries planned. It's just going to be crazy. We've got our own opinions about that, obviously. Just a few minutes out of the gate, and we're already starting to roast it a little bit. We'll get into that later. If you remember my Sonic reviews for the Sonic movies, I did a what will happen in the next Sonic movie video at the tail end of all of that. And we'll probably do something similar. We'll have a discussion segment at the end of all of these videos talking about what's in store for Bond. So we'll see. Will our predictions be right? Who knows? But stay tuned for later in the future because that'll be coming out sometime when we wrap all these up. But without further ado, let's dive right in and get to the very first James Bond movie, Dr. No. So what gets Dr. No started is there's a British intelligence agency called MI6, and they send one of their own agents out into the field in Jamaica where he goes missing because he is murdered. And they send James Bond. This is where we meet James Bond, of course, after the flashy stylistic intro, which would later become an ongoing trait of James Bond movies and an ongoing treat for James Bond movies because each one has their own little stylistic intro, which of course we'll get into a little bit later. But after that, that's where we meet James Bond himself. He is back in London playing a card game of Baccarat, and we meet a character named Sylvia, who would later come back as a love interest in From Russia with Love. And we also get to know James Bond himself a little bit, and of course we get the first use of his iconic Bond, James Bond line.
I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
So let's talk about the intro.
Yeah.
This intro is a little bit different than every other Bond. I guess because it's the first. They're laying the groundwork for what will become what we know as like the Bond series in this one.
Yeah.
There's no official. The official theme song is just the 007 song.
We of course get the first use of the barrel shot.
Yes.
Where we see James Bond through the barrel of a gun, and he's wearing a top hat. Even
I think it's a bowler hat.
Is it a bowler hat?
I think it's a bowler hat.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not Sean Connery. I think he's the only Bond who doesn't do his own. Yeah. I think he ends up later on in some of the later movies doing it.
Yeah.
But to start, he wasn't the one who was.
Which is
in
weird.
The circle. It is very odd.
It's odd,
especially because like after that, every Bond did it. So,
and as far as I know, there seems to be no distinct reason as to why.
Yeah.
Other than my only guess would just be maybe it was like an idea they came up with later once Connery was done with principal photography, and they're like, "Well, we'll get a stand-in to do this."
Maybe he thought it was stupid.
Maybe.
I mean, I could see that happening.
Maybe. Yeah, it could be.
But yeah, so this intro just features a lot of like, it's a very 60s intro. It's got all those little dots in it. So they're just kind of flying around. You kind of have your dancing women in the intro.
But there's men in there too.
But there's men in there too.
They're silhouetted with color. It's like their bodies outlines and like bright
and they're
pinks
fully
and
dressed.
Red. They're fully dressed. So we had a long way to go before we got to your, classic semi-skeezy Bond intros.
Which honestly, starting with From Russia with Love, the next one, that one, because they have the belly dancers.
Yeah.
In the intro. So that one starts to get a little bit more risque.
Yes.
With what they do. Because they show the dancers and then they show the three blind mice, the assassins, who have killed the British agent in Jamaica.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the intro is really similar to, like, it doesn't feel like too dissimilar from like an opening to an Alfred Hitchcock movie or something like that. Very 60s. Like it's got that very 60s classic opening. Semi-minimalist, still fun, but very simple by comparison to what would come later in the series.
Yeah, I'm thinking ahead. To like those Brosnan ones.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, with the CGI and
CGI naked like digital women.
Yes, yeah. That's like that. The Dr. No, if the Dr. No is on one end of the spectrum, Die Another Day has that CG intro.
Yeah,
that's on the other end of the spectrum. I'm doing way too much.
So that's how the first intro to a James Bond movie goes. It's pretty simple, like you said, stripped back, very 60s, very. And doesn't have all the iconic elements that we have come to know for Bond. Yeah.
Just baby steps, kind of tiptoeing into what would later be expected.
Absolutely.
But then we go back to MI6 and we see Bond being assigned his mission to go to Jamaica.
Yeah, and it's the first time that we get to meet some very key characters throughout the series.
Yep.
So we have Bernard Lee, I do believe, as M.
Yep.
And then we have Lois Maxwell as Moneypenny.
Yes.
So these two actors both played these parts, at least Lois Maxwell, up until Roger Moore ends his run. She exits at the same time.
Yeah, she had a really long run.
M, he goes up through Roger Moore as well, I do believe.
Does he?
I think, or he's just like right before him.
Yeah.
Like 1970, I think, is when he exits the Bond universe and the new M comes in.
That sounds right.
But I think just kind of overlooking the series, I think having the Moneypenny and M kind of be the same characters, and Q later on, he's not in this one. Well, he's kind of in this one.
Yeah.
But he's not Q.
It's like M Major Maxwell or something like that.
Yeah, Major, he has like a very British name.
Yeah, yeah.
He's some sort of major, but he's supposed to be Q. And
they still call it Q Branch. It's just he's not formed
He's
into
not-
Q yet.
Yes, exactly.
Technically.
Yeah. So I think it was really key, I think, for the success of the Bond films to have those carryover characters from each era to the next. I think it really much helped them bridge the gap between the decades and the different types of Bonds.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those familiar faces helped make those transitions.
And this is where we meet them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. They'd go on to do like, the two of them would go on to do like over 10 movies at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm remembering right. Moore did a lot of movies. He's definitely got the highest volume of Bond movies out of any of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Daniel Craig and Sean Connery are tied.
Yeah.
And then but Roger Moore's just, for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Once they start pumping them out like 3 movies a year.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Absolutely. But so we get to see Bond get sent off on his mission to Jamaica. So he arrives in Jamaica and honestly makes me wish to travel in 1960s airplanes.
Yeah.
Whenever I see a scene like that where you're arriving at an airport, he's just like walking through. I'm like,
yeah.
Air travel used to be so much cooler.
Honestly.
Back in the day.
Honestly. Yeah. Looked a lot more classy. Even just like, not even first class. The only downside would just be everyone and their brother was smoking. So it'd be like a hot box in there.
True.
But it looks cool.
Pros and cons.
It looks cool. Pros and cons.
So we're in Jamaica. Bond arrives at the airport, and immediately he's being tailed by a couple people. There's a woman with a camera who keeps taking pictures of him.
Yes.
A
guy pretends to be a chauffeur driver for him.
Yes.
But actually intends to kill Bond because he knows exactly why he's there in Jamaica.
And Bond gets into the car with this man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And drives away.
Drives away. And the two of them get into an altercation. James Bond overcomes the guy, but before he can start asking him questions, the guy takes a cyanide pill that is cleverly disguised as a cigarette.
So after that altercation, Bond kind of assumes the life of the person who was murdered. He is pretending to be a business partner of the man, so he's just coming in to kind of continue his business affairs for the company.
Yep.
And that includes like going to the club, meeting the people that he knew, finding out all the information that he knew, and just kind of figuring out what happened to him.
Yeah.
So we meet this geologist who will come back into play later, and Bond goes off to find somebody to charter a boat from.
Yeah.
And that's where we meet Quarrel.
Yes.
Quarrel is a charter fisherman, and he has kind of like a rundown boat, and Bond's kind of pestering him to take him out to where the other guy used to go. And he ends up going to this bar, and he ends up in this back room with Quarrel, and they get into an altercation, and that's when Felix bursts in. So this is the first time that we meet Felix Leiter as well. So Felix Leiter is a character who works for the CIA in America, and he is James Bond's American friend. Yes. And this is kind of like the origin story of them meeting, it feels like. Yeah.
And he's his very American friend.
Very American movie. Friend. He's played by Jack Lord, who is one of the leads in Hawaii Five-0. So that's who we're the level that we're dealing with right here of Americanness.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of a trend in these movies, especially the early, especially the Connery Bond movies, but just early Bond in general. As anytime there's an American character on screen, they're very American. They nail those archetypes and just definitely lean heavily into them. And Felix Leiter is no exception.
Absolutely. And you'll see that they do that for everybody.
Yeah.
Even more so.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, all things considered, I think Americans got off easy.
Absolutely. So here we meet Felix, and there was just a misunderstanding because they saw Bond get into the enemy car, and so they didn't know if he was a good guy or a bad guy. And now that they've met, they finally figured out, and so now they can collaborate and figure out what's going on.
Yeah. And it's kind of a cool way to, especially being the first Bond movie, it's a cool way for the filmmakers to introduce us to this world of espionage. And I think a lot of that is thanks to the script as well. The way that they slowly introduce these characters like Felix, because early on when Bond first gets out into the field, the first set of people that he meets are all untrustworthy, and they try to take him out when his back is turned or when his guard is down. And so when we get all of that, when we meet people like Coral or people like Felix, we see the other side of that, and we figure out who we can trust in this world. And so you kind of start to almost feel like Bond in a way, where it's like, oh man, I got to kind of keep on edge. Is this person really someone I can trust? Is this really an ally? And so it really sets up the paranoia angle of this world of spies. And Quirrell was working with Strange Ways to find him and figure out who was jamming the signal. There's one island of interest called Crab Keys that is private and owned by Dr. No, but Quirrell and Strange Ways had collected samples from there. Bond goes to see Professor Dent, who is one of the last men to see Strange Ways alive. Dent gets spooked and goes to tell Dr. No, who gives him a tarantula to kill Bond.
When we were watching this movie and like the tarantula comes on, I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure tarantulas are not harmful to humans.
Right. Right.
And it turns out they aren't. So the all tarantulas are venomous, but their venom does not, it only just hurts. It's really painful to get bit by a tarantula, but it's not going to kill you. And I don't know, maybe like audiences just weren't handling tarantulas in the 1960s.
Right.
It's I mean, as a kid, I remember going to like some zoo events and things like that where you got to hold a tarantula.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was a common thing back in the 1960s. So that's probably why they just picked a tarantula to be the killer. Also, the scene reminds me of Padme in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, Dr. No and Dent, one of the two really should have done more research on their very contrived, complex way of trying to assassinate Bond. It's funny. Would it not have been easier for him to just stick a gun in the window and
absolutely would have
send the tarantula? And you don't even know if that tarantula is going to go straight towards him.
That's true. They
put a lot of faith in that tarantula.
Honestly, there's a lot of convoluted plans to murder Bond throughout these movies.
There are. Bond, of course, kills the spider. He arranges to meet another character's secretary. A lot of secretaries in this movie, who's also working for Dr. No. And they meet up after a car chase, which... incredible car chase. Really, really well done car chase. It feels very akin to those type of scenes that were coming out in the 60s. And then also just scratching the surface of what we'd see later on, especially in the 70s. Speaking of tropes, Bond sleeps with this character's secretary, which I believe is his first on-screen lay.
I guess if we want to put it that way, yes. It is.
But Bond gets this secretary arrested, and he waits for whoever was going to assassinate him to show up. He does, and it turns out that it's the geologist who was sent to kill Bond, who Bond, of course, gets to first and takes him out instead. Then Bond and Quirrell go to Crab Key, where they meet Honey Rider, who collects and sells seashells in Miami. So she sells seashells in Miami.
And we get the iconic scene of her coming out of the ocean.
Yes. This is a very iconic scene. In fact, a lot of people who haven't even seen this movie, or at least are even the slightest bit familiar with Bond, the chances are you've probably seen this scene.
Absolutely.
Sean Connery is singing underneath the mango tree, and she comes out of the water. Honey Rider comes out of the water, and she's, glistening in the sun. And,
wearing a bikini. Which was new and fashionable at the time.
Yes.
I think it raised sales for bikinis after this movie came out. I think it skyrocketed them. Yeah.
I know I bought one after we went and saw this. But yeah, it's a very it's a great scene. And it probably, if I had to guess, probably had male, female, straight, and gay audiences swooning for our two leads here.
What Brian's trying to say, she's a very attractive woman, and as our first
Yes.
main Bond girl, it's a
And-
memorable opening scene for
Well,
her.
and not just her either. It's Bond too.
Yeah, that's true.
Bond too. They're both looking good here.
They're both looking good. I read somewhere that Sean Connery had to wear a toupee the entire time he filmed James Bond, but I just found out recently that fact is not true. I think for the
Really?
first 2 movies he didn't wear a toupee, and then after that he starts wearing them.
Yeah.
I think Goldfinger is when he started wearing the toupee.
I wonder who approached him.
I think he knew that his hair was thinning.
So he was.
So like, I think he was okay with it.
He wasn't doing like the comb over.
No, but I think he was like okay with his baldness.
Yeah.
So I think it was just he knew the character needed to have a full head of hair.
Yeah. He's a proud member of the Bald Alliance.
Yeah, which I've always heard it's from the beginning that Dr. No is when he started wearing the toupee, but I guess that information was wrong.
So Bond and Honey Rider unfortunately get found by Dr. No's men, and they have to escape them. And they seemingly do for a while, but then they see this dragon, and it's a local legend. This dragon has been the talk of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's been talking about it. And what it turns out to actually be, it's not really a real dragon, despite it probably looking like that from a distance. It's a flame-throwing tank that kills Coral. This flame-throwing tank kills.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
You think it's funny
death.
that Coral died?
No, because they bring his son. They brought back his son, and the Roger Moore Live and Let Die. And Live and Let Die, they bring back Coral's son to help out Roger Moore on his mission.
So they're captured by Dr. No and put up in rooms with change of clothing and coffee to drink that unfortunately has a sedative in it. So they get knocked out cold. Mm-hmm. Which, as far as honestly, as so long as we're talking of tropes and stuff, mm-hmm. Another trope and a cliche that would be featured in many Bond movies is Bond getting captured.
He's
almost always in the end of the second act or somewhere in the third act. Usually it's the end of the second act. Bond gets captured, and it's usually with his love interest. Mm-hmm. But as far as captivity goes, I think Bond and Honey Rider got off okay here. It's one of the more luxurious setups that they've had.
Absolutely.
While being held captive.
So they have adjoining rooms, king size beds, a whole closet of clothing for them, and they get brought food. It's almost like a luxury hotel stay.
It is. Of course, it's not a desirable situation, but if you're going to be kidnapped, I'd certainly prefer this over some of the things we see in the future. I'm just picturing a side-by-side with this set up next to Daniel Craig in Casino Royale.
Or even Pierce Brosnan in North Korea.
Yes. Good Lord. That's one of the rare exceptions. We say usually happens in the second act.
That's true.
For a small amount of time. But in that movie, we'll get to this later, it takes up half the entire film.
It's a montage.
Miserable.
It's a torture montage. And honestly, I'd rather see Daniel Craig's scene at Casino over and over again than watch the torture montage from Die Another Day Again.
Or that movie.
Or that. I wasn't going to say that.
They'll find out eventually.
Yeah.
But back to this one. So after they awaken from their sedative-induced slumber, they are summoned to dinner with Dr. No, where he reveals that he's been jamming the American missiles. So he's behind all of that. And he tries to recruit Bond for Spectre, which is this organization. It's a secret evil organization. It's basically the anti-MI6.
Yeah.
And this would go on to become this is basically Bond's empire. Spectre is going to pop up throughout the Bond films, but they, of course, started here. But I do like that immediately right off the bat with this first movie that they didn't know for sure whether or not this was going to become a franchise. But obviously, they had hopes of that. But to put the faith in this movie and start to set up the world building here and tease a big bad that's something quite larger than just Dr. No here is really cool. And I appreciate that we're starting to see the bigger picture right off the get-go from Dr. No.
So Dr. No tries to recruit Bond to be a part of Spectre, which of course Bond, being the guy he is, says no, obviously, and he gets imprisoned again, but more like a place where he can't escape. It's not as nice. It's not as nice. A far cry from the luxury hotel status he had. So Bond escapes and he disguises himself as like a nuclear like worker. It reminds me of The Simpsons a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, just like him in his big old nuclear suit. And he ends up, he like goes. Bond is he's so funny in this first movie because he literally just walks up to like the nuclear reactor thing and starts like pulling button levers and like twisting stuff, and like he causes like the nuclear reactor to overload, and Dr. No is like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that. And he comes over and then they have a fist fight and he knocks Dr. No down into the boiling water of the nuclear reactor. I think it's boiling water. I can't be 100% certain. I know I'm not a nuclear like scientist or anything, so I really don't understand how it works. And Dr. No gets boiled to death. Bond and Honey escape. They get rescued by Felix and the American Navy. And then it's implied that he and Honey are going to do some shenanigans in the boat. And but he's rescued. Felix knows where he is. They got him. And that's how Dr. No ends.